Hey, it's Hawken with TOPDON. Today we're going to do a walkthrough video on the ArtiDiag700. This tool is a hardwired tool with a small form factor tablet. There are also hard buttons, as you can see here, and what we're going to do is walk you through all of the menus just so you can become familiar with all of the different things that you can do with this particular tool. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see in the menus here, we have a number of different options. Now the tool is a touchscreen tablet. It also has hard keys if you prefer to use those. Of course, if you have grease on your fingers or things like that, as many automotive technicians do when working on vehicles, it's great to have these hard keys so that you don't smudge up or scratch the screen. Now, we're going to work like we usually do on our walkthrough videos. We're going to take you through the different sections here in reverse order. So we're going to start with the user info. In the user info, there are a number of different options. Now, I am currently not connected to Wi-Fi, but you do need to connect to Wi-Fi for updates. In this menu, you're going to see a number of different menus. You have firmware update. That is for the tablet and the dongle or cable, if you will, for connecting to the vehicle. So firmware update is something you want to check regularly to make sure that your tool is functioning optimally on all of the latest vehicles that you encounter. Second, you're going to see system update. This is where the operating system for the whole tool gets updated right there. And that is something you also want to check regularly to make sure that you have the latest updates on your tool. Next, we have uninstall software. Uninstall software allows us to remove any vehicle manufacturer software to save storage space if we don't need to use that anymore, or if we accidentally install software that is unnecessary. In the other menus here, we have profile. In our profile menu, we can change the user information that is actually assigned to the tablet. So if we want to change and maybe sell this tool to somebody else, or we're going to give it to one of our friends, that's where you're going to see the profile information that you can edit. Next, we have our shop info tab right here. And our shop info tab contains what you would expect. We'll scoot this a little closer so you can see here. The shop info tab, we can put in the shop name, the address, and also the telephone number if we wish. In the settings menu here, here's where we set up our internet connection. So the LAN connection here for connecting to the internet is right there. You can see we can set our date and time right here. Our storage management, which is important to pay attention to, is also in this menu. If your tool is starting to fill up and you don't have enough space for downloading a given software, here's where you can go in and see how much space you have remaining. Right now you can see I've used 27 gigabytes of the 32, and I do have a very large number of vehicle softwares installed. Next, we have the language setting. So we can change the language on the tool, and you can see that there are quite a few different languages supported here. Make sure to check the product info tab if you are curious if a specific language is supported. We can also change our units. So if we want to use metric or imperial units of measurement, we can do that. We'll go back here. AutoVIN, as you can see here, is a function we can turn on or off. So if we want to build the vehicle manually, we can easily do that. If we would prefer to have the tool AutoVIN, pull the VIN and try to decode it and identify the vehicle, that's easy enough to do by turning on the AutoVIN feature. Auto lock is a timeout for your screen. So if you want your screen to lock the tablet and go to sleep sooner, all you need to do is turn on the auto lock and set it to the interval that you wish. And you can go all the way up to 30 minutes. If you'd prefer that the tablet never shut the screen off, you can hit the never button. If you turn it to never, make sure you tap the button on the top of the tablet in order to turn the screen off. So basically, if we are checking here and we've got the screen on perpetually, this button up in the top left, which is also your power button, will deactivate the screen. We also have some additional other buttons down here, transfer device. So if we want to transfer the device for sale to another person, or you give it to a friend or something of that nature, the transfer device button may be a feature you will need to use. The about button here will tell you what the current version of the app is, and it will also allow you to check for updates here in this menu. Your terms of service and privacy policy are also accessible here. Now keep in mind, in order to do any updating, you do have to be connected specifically to the internet. All right, so that takes care of the settings menu and also profile and shop info. Next is your customer feedback button. Should you have any issues with the tool, where a function is not working or you're unable to scan a specific vehicle, go into the feedback setting, type in all of the information about the vehicle you are having an issue with, and submit the feedback. The engineering team will then take a look at the logs that you attach here, and once you attach those logs, you will be able to receive a response back, usually within a reasonable period of time, and the engineering team will attempt to resolve the concern that you have reported. You can also request additional features on the tool or recommend upgrades to the existing user interface. Order management is not something that you're going to likely be using, as you can see here that is blank at this time. I missed the little bell up in the top right here. If you hit the little bell up in the top right, you can turn on or off the notifications here. Now again, you're seeing errors because I'm not connected to the internet, but if we want to turn any of the message settings on or off for warning messages and sounds, that little bell in the very top right corner is where we can edit the notifications. So that takes care of our user info settings tab. You can see we have a number of other tabs here we can look at. The mall is going to be if there are any possible subscription updates or purchases of additional software available. Those will be found in the mall. Again, we're not connected to internet, so you're not going to see anything there. Maintenance is our shortcut to all of our maintenance functions. So you can see we have a number of different common maintenance functions on this tool, and that is one of the best strengths of this tool. It's a very quick and easy tool to use for common service functions, such as basic resets, relearns, things of that nature. Next, we have emission monitoring status. Now it's going to tell us error because we're not connected to a vehicle right now, but this is where we're going to go in if we want to check readiness status for emissions monitoring, right here in the IM menu. OBD2 is a menu where you can go in and read generic fault codes for OBD. So most, if not all, vehicles that are in a country where emission controls are being employed, there will be something in here to review in terms of data. So again, OBD2 is generic standardized data that will be found across all makes, all models in a universalized format. Additionally, we have our Diagnostics tab here. And remember, in the Diagnostics tab, we can either manually build the vehicle, or we can also acquire the VIN through the AutoVIN or entering the VIN. That does require internet in order to do the AutoVIN function. The tool has to decode the VIN correctly, and in order to do that most effectively, it does have to be connected to the internet. Next, we're going to show you the other menus here. History allows you to go in and see any of the different pieces of data that you have recorded. So if you have a screen recording that you might have saved, if you have screenshots, you can save or you can access those there. We can replay any scan data that we have logged and captured on the tool. And we can also look at our pre-scans, post-scans, and DTC scans. Again, that was your History tab. Library allows you to access a wide variety of different resources. You can get to the web browser, you can access the official support forum, you can also access the user forum that has a lot of very valuable and insightful tips and tricks on how to use the tool. Quick support is in here in case you need help with tech support and they need to remote into the tool. That's where quick support can be found. The user manual can be accessed here. The vehicle coverage lookup to determine if the tool has a function or a feature you're looking for can be accessed right here. Again, most of these features are going to require internet in order to do this. Your warning light library is found here, your DLC location here, your TSB index here, and your DTC repair guide here. Again, many of these resources can be very helpful for a wide variety of different circumstances, so don't forget about taking advantage of the library menu option. Again, that's right there. Next, we can look at battery voltage live monitoring. So this is going to use the cable on the tool connected to the data link connector on the vehicle to graph and display the voltage level of the vehicle. So currently we're not connected to a vehicle, so you can see there's nothing showing up. Here is the update menu, And the update menu will allow you to update all of your vehicle manufacturer specific software as well as the OBD software. So again, we're not connected to internet here, so that's why you don't see anything in the menu. So that completes kind of our walkthrough of all the general menus on the tool. I do want to point out one more thing that is easy to forget. If you drag from the top of the screen down, this will give you access to some additional features. We have our screenshot button, which we can turn on. You see that? Now we have the little camera over here on the side of the screen. So now if we hit that little button, we can take a screenshot anytime we want, and that will save to our history. There's our screenshot right there. Additionally, if we want to turn that back off, we can just hit this blue button here. Screenshot shortcut goes away. And then if we want to do screen recording, now we have a screen recording video option right there. We can also adjust the brightness as well as the sound level for our notifications through the drag and drop down menu. Last, we do also have the little gear in the top right corner here. If we tap on that, that's going to take us into the settings menu where we can check and adjust which network we're connected to, the date and the time. Just a quick shortcut if you want to get there instead of going through the user info button. All right, so now we're going to take you through the AD700 or ArtiDiag700 and just show you a few things here on an actual vehicle. So we're going to go into the Diagnostics tab first and just walk you through here. Now, of course, if we are connected to Wi-Fi, we're always going to get better overall functionality out of the tool. Now, one thing you're going to notice in here that is helpful is your diagnostic history. So if you have diagnostic history from connecting to vehicles, you can get back into them here. Now, if we are connected to the internet, the AutoVIN function on newer vehicles, usually 2010 and newer, is going to work pretty effectively. If you're not connected to the internet, it may not work particularly well. It's also important to keep in mind that older than 2010, some vehicles will not automatically ID via VIN. So here we're going to go ahead and auto ID. Looks like the VIN reads perfectly well. And then we're going to go ahead and confirm the VIN. And this is a USA market vehicle. It's not a smart key vehicle. And it is radar cruise. And so now we're going to confirm the ID. And we're going to auto scan the vehicle. And again, we can do all system scanning with this particular tool. So the AD700 is fully capable of talking to all systems on vehicles and retrieving fault codes and such. Great for a pre and post scan type of tool. And of course, because of the compact form factor and the hardwired part of the tool, really convenient as a first grab, just basic pre-scan, post-scan data collection kind of tool. So here we're going through all the systems, and you can see it goes really fast, actually. Being a hardwired tool, that always helps with the speed of scanning. As you can see here, we're blowing through them pretty quick. So it looks like we only have one fault, and we're going to go ahead and hit the report button and generate our report. In the software, it logs the mileage or kilometers, and we can enter in some additional details and embed a picture if we have a screenshot or something. There is no internal camera on this tool, so no pictures you're going to take with the tool itself. As always, there's our QR code if you want to just grab the report easily. And then here's our report summary. We can also use our hard keys to scroll through this if we want. And we'll get all the way down here and we'll see what fault we have in the engine. Startability malfunction. Well, lovely. That's good news. Not. So we can save our report, and then of course if we're connected to the internet, we can share our report right from the screen. So PDF is our most common format most people are going to share. So we can email that right off of the tool like we're going to right now. So there's our report. We're going to go ahead and hit OK, and we'll hit send. And now it's been emailed. We're going to go back, and then we're going to show you that we also have access to a handful of other things like hot functions. So if we go back one step, I went a little too far there. I have to rebuild the vehicle real quick. And we'll hit confirm. And the hot functions allows us to do a handful of maintenance procedures. So some of these won't apply to the vehicle you're working on, like obviously this vehicle does not have a DPF since it's a gasoline vehicle. But many of the other really basic maintenance functions that are going to be used on a daily basis are available through the AD700. So now we're just going to use the hard key to go back, and we can select yes, and we're going to go back, You can also go up to the very top menu here, arrow over to the little house, and hit OK, and then hit exit, and that'll take us right back out to the main screen. Now, you will also notice there is a hot button or a shortcut specifically if you would like to go into the OBD mode of the tool. So if we go back here with the back arrow or use our touchscreen, OBD2 mode allows us to look at OBD2 specific data, which, as we always want to point out, is a universalized standardized format for all vehicles that are compliant with emission regulations. So OBD can be very helpful if you are trying to determine, maybe you look at a piece of information that you're not familiar with the way the manufacturer describes it. If you go into OBD, you may be able to see some data that's a little bit more universal and easier to interpret. So sure enough, we'll go into live data here, and we can see a lot of different generic OBD data, specifically with this mode on the tool. So as you can see here, we have a bunch of different OBD data stuff. We do have the capability to graph some of this information. Now, remember, it's a smaller screen, so you're not going to be able to see super duper high detail with a smaller screen like this, but we do in fact have the ability to do some graphing. So we'll go ahead, we'll graph engine RPM, and we'll pick short-term fuel trim and short-term fuel trim, and we will hit the little graph button here. And now you can see we do have a concurrent graph. I'll go ahead and I'll start the car so you can see this. And again, since this is a hardwired tool, it is going to tend to perform reasonably well when it comes to graphing and things of that nature, simply because this is in fact a hardwired tool. So reasonably decent in terms of its overall performance on graphing, simply because it is a hardwired tool. If we rev it up a little bit there, you can see the response in the graphs. So pretty solid considering that this is a very compact little format. So again, for just a basic quick grab tool for pre-scans and post-scans and a good variety of maintenance functions, the ArtiDiag700 is definitely going to be a great tool for everyday use. And of course, due to the rugged format and additionally the replaceable cable, this is a great tool for everyday use simply because it keeps itself charged while plugged into the data link connector as well. All right, thanks for taking the time to watch this short demonstration of the capabilities of the AD700.